And start recording as well, of course.
Hello, everybody. We're just getting started with the webinar. I see a few people have started to join and speakers coming in as well. So glad to have everybody on the call. Appreciate your participation. And if you don't mind, just give it a couple of more minutes before we actually jump right in. And just as people are joining, I'm sharing the slide. This will be the event we're doing today is going to be focused on techniques that we have. It's really about helping our customers identify areas where savings can be had when managing your cloud spend, as well as your Microsoft 365 spend, as well as Copilot. So there's a lot of conversation these days about getting AI to the next level and being able to find additional budget to help accelerate projects that are related to AI. So that'll be the focus of today's conversation for sure. Brad, I just put you on video, so wave to everybody.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
And we've got a couple more folks joining. Dominic, it looks like I'm being able to add you to the screen. So if you turn on your camera, we might be able to see you. And I'm going to make you a presenter. Yep. It looks like the whole band is here. Great.
All right.
Okay, so let me kick off for everybody. We'll probably have some more people join. But as it relates to our event today, first of all, thanks for taking the time to join. Some of you may already know, and this may be new information for the rest of you. We have Microsoft is partnering with an association called the Association of Corporate Growth. And together we're bringing a series of educational webinars to customers and to users. And it'll be a variety of topics. Today, we're talking about cloud cost optimization, Microsoft 365 and Copilot optimization. We have some other cool webinars upcoming over the next few months that'll be focused on some of the AI solutions, large language models, the use of disconnected containers. And at the end of today's session, we'll be sending out a feedback sheet and would love feedback from all of you on what future topics, really might be interesting to cover. Something that would be really valuable for you personally, but also your company or your customers. And so today, the reason we have today's webinar on maximizing your cloud spend and minimizing those expenditures is no secret that AI is prevalent everywhere. And the latest news will suggest that companies are struggling to adopt AI and struggling to get their employees to actually use AI chat assistants and things like this. So one of the things that we've discovered working with customers is that if we can help really optimize the cost of your infrastructure use with Azure, as well as licenses with 365 and Copilot, we start to really be able to identify savings areas, and then we could reinvest that money back into the deployment options and help the employees, help the teams actually leverage the AI technologies more quickly, and put together a program where we can educate teams and customers on how the technology is impacting the services that you're delivering inside your own company to your own employees, but also externally to your customers. So today will be the first of a many that are coming down the pike. And with that, we've got some excellent speakers with us today. Brad Garston is from Quanta Networks, who's a Microsoft partner. And Dominic, who's also with us today, is from Surveil, and they have an interesting solution to this problem and is working with Brad and Quanta Networks to help deliver it. So what I'll do now, Dominic, I will turn it over to you and Brad and let you guys start sharing your screen and getting right into the topics.
Super. Thank you, Ashley, so much. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I would say that we've seen, I think with the advent of obviously Copilot and AI as that's coming into the market space, organizations, to your point, Ashley, that are, it's been a bit of a challenge to get those things to go and to move forward. I think some of the tools of the past have served companies in terms of being able to give them better visibility into their environments. But today, some of those tools just aren't really good enough. So companies need greater visibility. And I think that's really what this is about today, looking at M365 and also Azure and how companies can really optimize their environment. Dominic, some thoughts?
Yeah, so just by way of introduction, my name's Dominic Sewick. I actually work with Surveil. And I would agree with Ashley in your introduction is that with the advent of AI and Azure, organizations are looking at ways to optimize overall and kind of manage those costs. And what we wanted to do is just kind of have a quick conversation, open conversation around, what are we seeing kind of in the marketplace between ourselves at Surveil, what the other marketplace providers such as, the FinOps Foundation and or Gartner, what are they saying? And then hearing from Brad around Quanta and some additional insights from Ashley across the board. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick. Bear with me. Sorry about this, gentlemen.
No, all good. And also by way of introduction, I'm Brad Garston here from Quanta Networks, Microsoft partner, as Ashley indicated. I'm also a plug-and-play mentor and a mentor for 500 Global and the Italian consulate here in San Francisco. So work with a lot of different sizes of companies, public companies, private companies, and really helping to advise them, work with them, and implement solutions, whether it's related to optimization, AI and AI strategies, and really helping companies to be productive.
Excellent. So with that, I'll go ahead and kind of kick it off. So again, we're maximizing value, eliminating cloud and budget waste. And we're really seeing, not only for Microsoft, but across the multi-cloud, environment, that the most common priorities come down to really three basic needs. And this is whether you're dealing with, the FinOps Foundation as an example, Gartner, even tool providers like a Flexera or a Cloudability, or even us here at Surveil, of really what kind of rises to the top. All of the organizations are, on their own journey from a FinOps perspective, from a cloud optimization perspective, or even dealing with the AI and M365 and Copilot perspective. But again, the three biggest areas that we're consistently seeing is number one, wastage and optimization, which is kind of interesting because, we've got folks on this call right here doing due diligence that are of all sizes, very large organizations to mid-level organizations. But when you look at all of the surveys that are out there, whether you're mid or very large, wastage and optimization still rises to the top. Secondarily, it would be establishing cost allocation across the board, because you can go through an optimization process, which is great, but really when you make that next step, it's about making people within the organization that are using the resources whether that's on an Azure perspective or M365 perspective, aware of what the costs are associated with those projects, and probably just as importantly, the value that's being derived from them. And then really the third one is better prediction of what our costs are going to be. This is our run rate over the last year. This is what our projection is, but where are we at within that journey? And on top of that, or in addition to that, while we're in that journey, if we have additional project costs that we're foreseeing coming in down the road, how do we add that accurately into the forecasting across the board? What I thought we would do is really kind of take you on a client journey. We tried to pick somebody, or I tried to pick somebody that was relevant to the group that's on the call. So this is an organization. Let me move to the next slide. That has an annual revenue of over $20 billion and over 40,000 employees. Now, every organization is different. Some of these things may resonate with you. Other things may not resonate as well, but we thought it was kind of a cumulative story that we could share. So obviously I can't share the name, but you understand the size of the organization, so away we go. From an Azure perspective, they were at 1.2 million in ABR on a monthly basis. At the time, which is a little over a year ago, they decided to use their own internal tool to build out, a cost management methodology. They used an offshore team of about 6 people to do this. But as you can all, probably understand now, is that it's really hard to keep up with the technology and the changes and the vast number of SKUs, whether you're using AWS or Azure or GCP. And then they also had leadership that really wanted additional visibility and cost controls. So they're kind of, getting pulled in all different directions while also trying to keep up. They decided to, hey, we need to make a decision here, internal team, or do we want to add some tooling, which they decided to actually do. So it was, that's kind of where they started their journey overall. From a main areas that they were focused on was optimization, forecasting, and budgeting. They were really interested in the bill back and charge back for the resources that were being used. And then also this particular organization, which will resonate with some of the folks on the phone, is they also were a Microsoft Mac client or had a Mac contract. And they found it very difficult to kind of manage and see where they were at a consistent basis within that Mac contract. For those that actually have a Mac contract, you'll understand that it's a, use it or lose it type of scenario with a very high spend. So they wanted to make sure that they had full visibility to that.
Quick question. What is a Mac contract? What does that mean?
Yeah. So, do you want to take that, Ashley, or do you want me to take that?
No, go right ahead.
Yeah. So what a MAC contract is typically is it's a large commitment. So generally for larger organizations that are committing to a specific type of spend, dollar amount spend with Microsoft. Typically it can be a 3-year type of contract, and an organization might commit to spend $100 million or $50 million. And they have a SKU list that they can actually spend against that. So it's really critical that you kind of manage and see where you're at from a spend perspective, while also being to project out during that time period of, hey, we've got these other projects that we'd like to get off the ground, because the MAC contract typically has an endpoint. And if you have used your $50 million, that is at a discounted rate, that is fantastic. But a lot of organizations have found that if they don't hit their spend contractually, they simply lose that money. So it's a discounted commitment up front. You're committing to a certain dollar amount, use it or lose it. So a lot of organizations really want to track that throughout the entire life cycle, simply because as they reach the end point of a MAC contract, if there's a large discrepancy there, they're either having to write additional checks or they are having to try to spin up additional resources to try to use as much as that burn down commitment as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And also, Brad, just as an FYI, from my perspective from a presentation, I'll have the one slide that I'm going to reference, but you will need to share your additional closing slide just because I ran into a little bit of issue with the deck literally during the call. So
No
just
problem.
a heads up on that.
Thank you.
All right. So what I'm going to show you is this is the actual, with their information stripped out of kind of their starting point within the journey. Again, I will say that Surveil is a SaaS tool, but this is not a Surveil commercial. We just wanted to give you insight into the journey that this particular organization went on and give you some type of the results that they're actually seeing. So from a high level on the platform, what they really wanted to focus on and see is of the areas of opportunity that we have, and they are an Azure customer to set the table there. We find it difficult with the native Azure tooling to really get down into the granular information to make really good decisions from an optimization standpoint. So we presented them with a particular process that surfaced this data for them. And as you can see from the particular slide, it really points out different areas of opportunity for them and the estimated annual saves if they implemented the recommendations from these different optimization opportunities. The reason I wanted to show you this is simply because, like some organizations, they didn't want to boil the ocean and they didn't want to throw tremendous manpower resources against it. So they needed insight into where should we start and where should the resources actually be used so that we can get the most value for our dollar. In their particular instance, reserved instances was definitely the way to attack it. And if you look at the bottom left hand of the image, we are also able to stack rank for them based on the percentage of saves versus the amount of recommendations that are required to reach that percentage of saves, where they should best apply their people and or resources to get the most bang for the buck. Kind of, is the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak? Now, I'm going to pause here for a quick second. I'm going to throw a question to Ashley because, he deals with to Brad, because I know you deal with a wide range of different client sets. This is a particularly larger customer that is using M365 and Azure across the board. And before I get into the general conversation of Copilot and the M63 piece of it, what are your general thoughts on this? Would you somewhat agree? Are you finding in your customer set that you're seeing things a little bit different based on size, or what have you been hearing over the last 60 to 90 days?
Yeah, no, so really, really good question. I think organizations are challenged, right? I think that the board level are saying, hey, we really need to be doing things. We need to optimize. AI is here. We need more adoption. We need more productivity out of this. How do we get that? What do we do? What are you doing, C-level executives? And the C-level executives are classically saying, we got this. And the challenge is, they don't completely have their arms around it. It's hard. It's hard for everybody to have their arms around it because it's all moving so quickly. So as a result, some of the tools that they've been using in the past have been fine. But even today, shadow AI, allowing people to go out and look at and find information that is not, under the security umbrella of an organization is a thing. And it's hard for them to control that. So bringing that back to this conversation, being able to have this type of granular view of what's happening and cost spend, making sure the right people in the organization actually have a Copilot license, And organizations can give you other tools will give you a trend. That's nice. The hard part is getting granular to know that do the right people have the right tools to be productive? And that's why we teamed up with you. So we've seen a lot of, I get frequent calls from people saying, help us. What can we do here? So the key is, what are you trying to solve? And then we back into that and use tools like this to help them to get there and to get, again, better visibility.
Right. It's interesting you bring that up too, because as the folks on the call can see, this is a very non-scripted type of presentation. So I want to throw this question back to you, Brad, as well, and I'll come across the top and give you my thoughts on it. And that is, with the recent announcement from Microsoft with some of the pricing changes and or consolidation in pricing. Have you found that the level of interest and or expediency has increased since that announcement, recognizing that there's kind of a November 1st, somewhat line in the sand? Or have you seen any uptick in interest, or what's been your experience?
Yes. So yes, I've definitely seen an uptick. However, I don't think it's widely known. I don't think Microsoft's trying to keep it a secret as much as this date is impending and coming. And I think that companies aren't as aware to know what the
Mm.
implications are. And, while November 1st is on the horizon, you have to, well, what we're seeing is the questions I'm getting is if people want to have a look to get visibility, number one. Number two, if you then want to begin to start to take action, that also takes time. Waiting until, the end state in the line will kind of be too late. So effectively, Microsoft eliminating a bunch of different discount levels, and Ashley can talk to that in just a moment. And for those people that are in contract today, you'll be fine moving forward, but anything net new after November 1st will, many discounts will be eliminated. If not all discounting will be eliminated. So the key is to kind of lock in your needs today and just really get a good sense of where you stand. Ashley?
Yeah, there are changes coming down the pike with how pricing is being managed for the Microsoft 365 licenses. And that's something that I think everybody on the call should address and make sure they reach out to somebody to help understand what the implications are inside your company. The other point I want to make out too, it's really exciting about this partnership with you guys is that although a lot of this information is in the Azure portal or in the Microsoft 365 portal, it's not always as easy to get to as you would like. And what this really enables us to do are get to the details quickly and without having to be a fully trained, Azure admin. So you have the ability to really scale the organization. You want your most talented admins and Azure and Microsoft 365 experts to be working with the customers or with the employees to get them to understand how to best use it. So when you're tracking utilization, people in the finance organization maybe wants access to the same information. By using a tool like this, you can bring in kind of a mixed group of constituents or basically owners that can share the same information quickly and efficiently. And it will raise to the very top the basic things that could be done to save money, optimize costs. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of companies that are setting up Tiger teams that are just watching that. So if you're thinking about putting a Tiger team together just to watch your cost and your optimization, a tool like this is a really ideal candidate to help share back and forth because you have to manage permissions and role-based access inside the Azure portal. Whereas if you have a tool like this, you can kind of plug and play who the information owners are, and it's a great way to get a better level of collaboration inside your company focused on these types of optimization skills. Thoughts?
Yeah, I've found it interesting from our end that as a result of the announcement, there's just a sense of urgency, not panic, but urgency to make sure that people have the visibility and things are locked in. And actually, we're seeing some organizations that have a EA as an example with an expiration date that's 8 months out, actually working diligently to pull that EA or contract renewal up before November 1st, and that's creating a sense of urgency. So thanks for that insight. Recognizing that we're coming up on time, I'll just spend a quick minute talking about the M365 side of the house, and particularly what's near and dear to Ashley's heart as an AI SME. Copilot with this particular organization, 3,000 Copilot licenses, and they did your typical, purchase the licenses and pray and spray across the organization. Send those licenses to the C-suite, obviously, maybe roll some down into finance, but there really wasn't necessarily a rhyme or reason because to ascertain who can actually get value out of a Copilot license can be very, very challenging and time consuming. So as part of the overall visibility tool, what we were able to position them to them was out of the entirety of their organization down to the person, we can track and visualize the actual M365 usage of each individual. And then using some intellectual property, we will rank those people based on their ability to gain value out of a Copilot license. So they're a high usage, they should get a license. Low usage, maybe not get a license based on that usage. In addition to that, there's a monitoring of the people that actually have a license. And then we actually to serve up, hey, they're not actually getting value out of it. The second piece of that is from a valuation perspective or an ROI perspective, based on an organization's inputs of hourly rate and how often the end user is actually using Copilot, we can down to the individual for this particular client show on a per person basis, geo basis, or line of business basis, the actual valuation that they're getting from the Copilot license to actually formulate an ROI. With that, I will go ahead and I will stop sharing and turn it over to Brad, as I know you've got about two minutes left.
Super. So let me know if you can see my slide.
Not yet.
Okay.
Here it comes.
There it is.
All right, super. So literally, as Dominic indicated and Ashley indicated, this is a flyby to just give some thoughts and ideas of things that are happening in the market space. Companies have different tools they've been using. We've come up with a kind of a 3-step process. We've invested as a company with Surveil to allow for companies to get this visibility, knowing that November 1st is right around the corner. And at very minimum, with this investment we've made, what it's going to do is one of two things. One, validate that you're in good shape. The tools you're using are great. You are optimized with your M365 licenses and also with your Azure. So that's great. Amazing. Checkbox. Awesome. Second part is, if anything might be missing, this will expose different areas that might need some attention or some cost savings. So either way, there's a win and savings that can be had and productive results. So the key for us is, how do we help that? How do we share? And so number one is we do this proof of value evaluation of an organization, look at your goals, agenda, and then we really map to your outcome. Number two, if there's a strategy session that's needed, we're happy to hop on a quick call and go through that. And then number three, Ashley and I have done a lot of workshops at Microsoft, so whether in person at the MTC in Mountain View or virtually. So just making it as easy as possible. And many organizations, I'm sure many people on the call already have a Microsoft partner. What a lot of companies don't realize is you can have more than one partner. So I have many clients who get licenses from one person and use us for professional services or specific introspection to understand and optimize their environments. So anyway, thank you all so much. And we're available. My contact details are here, as are Dominic's, and feel free to reach out to us and let us know what we can do to help.
Great. Brad and Dominic, thank you for participating today. And for everybody joining, the goal is to put a really short session together, 30 minutes, just to give you a high level view. the benefit will be, if you're really interested in this, we can set up, as Brad said, a follow-up to really dive into some deep detail, specifically about your own company, so that we can get into the granular expectations of using a product like this and helping out. So with that said, I want to say thank you for participating today. We'll send out some notes and some transcripts afterwards to everybody who attended. And any questions, just reach out. This chat will be open on your email for a while. And as Brad suggested, you can also reach out to Brad and Dominic directly right here as well. So thank you, everybody. Have a great day and the rest of your week.
Should we keep this open in case people have questions, a little QA?
Yeah,
for a
good
minute?
idea.
Okay.
Yeah, we can stay on board. That's a great idea. If anybody can stay a little longer, maybe I can turn off the mute and we can just have an open conversation.
We're available. I'm going to stop sharing so others can poke in if they want to. Super.
Control.
Thank you. And Dominic, thank you so much. Some great points and great insights from some of the work we've done.
Actually, everybody has the ability to unmute themselves right now. I just turned the desk. So if there is somebody who's sticking around and has a specific question, just hit your mute button and feel free to ask, or you can put it in the chat.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. Happy to answer any questions of what we're seeing in the industry or specifically what clients are asking about.
Yeah, what I've been seeing really successful, we'll just kind of have our own little conversation, if you chime in, is the ability to, these workshops have been fantastic. Like we bring in live workshop or virtual workshop, short and sweet, bring a Tiger team in, we talk about expectations for the company. We focus on the company specifically so that we can really get into granular detail, and whether it's a tool like what Dominic offers with Surveil, or maybe it's something else about staffing requirements, or the ability to pull in third-party resources. Because at the end of the day, most companies are trying to decide, do we have the resources internally to execute on our strategy? Do we need to pull in third party? Because everybody's got a day job. And it's so tough with AI. Our customers everybody's working extra hours to onboard these new technologies, and it can be exhausting. So a lot of times companies find value in just figuring out who's going to be doing the work to roll out these capabilities inside their own company for their own employees, as well as building it into their own products so they can offer it to their own customers. And so I think one of the big transitions I've seen in the last several months is identifying, do we buy it off the shelf? Do we invent it from within? Do we bring in a third party? And I love having those conversations. I'm Brad, I suspect you probably have been in the same boat, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, it's interesting. You almost exactly described one of my clients, right? So you have the day job, people are trying to do it, trying to sort it out, trying to run at it, and they struggle. It's hard. It's hard to get your arms around the stuff. It's all going so fast, and to scale your own business, and then also have apply your team. And I think sometimes people take, are thinking, gee, I have to do all of these things. The key is to be able to scale your business, and if you bite off more than you can chew, then pretty quickly you're not going to be productive in everything, right? So your quality start to fall off. This type of dashboarding is significantly helpful to really give your team a savings, but also be able to just kind of see what's going on in the environment as things are changing. So no, really, really good point.
Dominic, your company has been really exciting to learn about. Surveil seems to have an idea of how this works, and I'm eager to hear what is your company doing as a third party in investigating these capabilities. I know you're wanting to expand your product's capabilities to monitor in other areas, but certainly in the area of reserved instances, I think you're even doing stuff like with spot instances as well, and basically anything in that regard.
Yeah, and I can answer that succinctly. Yeah. So the really where our sweet spot is, Ashley, is we are kind of born as an organization. We're multi-cloud and M365, but we were born really to focus on Microsoft. So we're very, very strong, and the majority of our IP is around Microsoft. When you look at it from an advantage level, because we have that granularity, we move way beyond what your native tooling is. And I'll give you a good example. So right now, if you do have an Azure shared resources as an example, um, with our, internal, we call it smart tagging, but our internal tagging structure, we can even in a shared resource drill down and do bill back, charge back on a shared resource to specific groups. What I find very interesting, where there's a lot of traction, is really around tagging, right? Because you have the
Mm-hmm.
optimization piece, number one, but to have, that's the low hanging fruit. You're going to have ongoing optimizations. But then you move into, okay, we're moving from a shared services model, and finance wants us to be able to show where the bang for the buck is. If this project has been allocated this many Azure resources, did we get a return on investment for that?
So
You
almost like
really,
down to the line of business level, like you as a line of business needed a resource, we got you that resource. Now you need to help us prove that you actually got the ROI from that investment.
100%. And it even moves, it gets more granular than a line of business. You can get it down to the actual individual. And that's really where the
Mm-hmm.
strengths of the overall tagging comes in. Because without that tagging structure, you just can't get to that granularity. And when you're moving from a walk to a crawl to a run in the FinOps methodology, tagging is a critical piece of that component.
You know
So
what
we're
else I
seeing a
like
lot of.
about this is I'm obviously the Microsoft guy and I love selling Azure, but I don't think I have any customers that are exclusive to one cloud provider. Like, they might have prioritized a cloud, a web
Mhm.
scaler, but the reality is everybody's hybrid cloud right now, and the
Yeah.
ability to do that, and I love bringing in a tool like this because I have customers that use all the clouds. I
Yeah.
want them to use more of my cloud, but the reality is we got to help the customer be successful. Now, that means bringing in an easy to use tool that allows them to consolidate their spend. It selfishly helps me because we can start to identify areas of improvement, and it allows us to have a really impactful conversation with the business owners on how to improve their businesses. And this type of granular, and it's even more important with Copilot because I tell you, um, even that, all companies are struggling. They might have Copilot licenses, but getting the employees to actually use them, it's a struggle. I mean, I'm getting better at using Copilot myself,
Mhm.
but I tell you what, it's been a journey and it's not a destination. So I know Brad has done a great job at building a training program um, to help the employees get onboarded. So after the licenses are bought, that's where the real work begins. And I feel like Surveil can display the usage metrics on how the employee base is using Copilot. And then Brad at Quanta can take that information and streamline a custom training and adoption program that meets the unique needs. And so I think that's really a fun consideration of this whole conversation that we're having.
I agree. And Brad, I do see the question on there, and I'll address it as soon as I, answer to
Please.
Ashley. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Multi-cloud, right? And I think, it's not so much a question of, for me, optimization of squeezing all the blood out of the turnip, so to speak. It's more about taking the fund savings that you have and applying it to the other things that are in the bucket of to-do list, right?
Yep.
Because saving money is the lowest common denominator. It's a race to the bottom. If you look at, even Microsoft as an example, and Facebook and all the large organizations, Oracle, they've gone to even laying off staff internally so that they can fund the AI different, work in progress and other programs that they'd like to bring to market. It's a similar conversation. Let's take some of the stuff from here, repurpose it from an optimization standpoint to fund these other areas.
Mhm.
And that's where, Quanta really comes into the picture, is we as an organization sell through, our partners, right? Traditionally, we sell through our partners. And it's partners like Quanta that we partner with globally that really bring, make that bridge. Here is the information that's been surfaced with all of these recommendations. the end client doesn't have the internal resources simply because they would already be aware of this if they did, right? So the tooling exposes it, and then Quanta comes in and closes that gap so that those funds can be released for those, higher end ticket type of projects. So that's typically kind of what we see. The question is can I hear a little bit more about how the technology, I'm going to put, is moving so quickly? Okay, technology is moving. Can companies build a cost and adoption strategy that won't be outdated in 12 months? The answer to that question is absolutely yes, 100%. It's a nuanced answer based on the strength of your internal team, and where you are in your maturity level, number one. Number two, are you subscribing to the FinOps methodology? If you are and you have a FinOps methodology kind of in play, it will be an easier process. I can only speak to our tool set, but the answer to that is 100% yes. And some of that comes into what we talked about earlier from a tagging strategy, so that you actually can get granular with being able to place where those costs are. And as far as the adoption, to build a cost and adoption strategy, yes. So you can also have forward looking. So here's one of the main challenges from a forecasting and budgeting perspective 6 to 12 months ago. We can see when you come onto the platform a minimum of 12 months of your usage. So we can look back, and based on that data, we can forecast forward. But as the implementers and users know, it can change on a daily basis. So how do you manage those changes that are being done from a cost perspective and project that actually out? You can do
Dominic,
that by...
I can also chime in from a technology perspective, because I think one of the questions that most people have is, how do I make sure that I can make an investment into an AI technology that I'm not going to screw myself out of a better technology that might be showing up next month? And so what Microsoft has done is we are AI and large language model agnostic. Yes, we have a fantastic relationship with OpenAI, but we also have fantastic relationships with other models like Mistral and Llama and even DeepSeek. So what we have done, Dominic, and this is where your tool becomes really important, is on Azure, in on Azure Foundry, we have the ability for plug and play capability to pick the AI tool that best fits the need. The large models are dominant and available for all industries. But if you have a unique industry in healthcare or finance or manufacturing, or insert name of some unique widget that you build for your customers, there are unique languages, LLMs, and small language models that are available. We have right now over 10,000 language models that are on the Azure Foundry portal. And what's cool about this is that if you've got the staff and the talent, if not, you can hire a company like Quanta Networks to come in, but you can pick and choose and move back and forth with what you need kind of on the fly. So, typical AI technologies like search and translation and transcription, they're already built out as part of Microsoft's cognitive solutions in the AI. But in the generative AI space, we're giving our customers maximum flexibility to build out the toolkit they need. And guess what? DeepSeek surprised everybody many months ago when they came out with the coolest and cheapest way to bring an LLM to market. But there'll be another one next month or next year, and Microsoft wants to be in a position to host that new one on Azure. So by leveraging Azure as your dominant cloud platform, you will get access to whatever the latest technologies are. And one thing is for sure, it's going to be a changing landscape for the next many, many months until things start to scale down. So I think it's important to consider stuff like that. And a tool like you offer, Dominic, is just helpful because it just brings that information into a single portal. And like you said, Brad, earlier, there's a lot of people that need to be brought together to kind of help. It takes a village to run an AI solution. And so part of the village is right here. You have the product from Microsoft, you got the information from Surveil, and you got the services piece from Quanta. And together we can really help the people on this call and our customers deliver on those promises a lot faster. Brad?
Yeah, and to your point, we've made an investment with Surveil, so we're basically, coming in and providing these, this look into your environment. And I'll just say we're not charging to do that, to give you that introspection and that look. We have one of our clients that we're working with now who's spent a lot of time and energy. They bought a large Microsoft license for Copilot, and they're trying to justify the expense, frankly, and do the right people have it? And it's been a struggle for them. So we're able to kind of tuck in and help them to point to the best people to have the best value from a granular perspective, but that's only because of Surveil. So thank
Folks,
you.
I think we're at the 9:45 hour. So unless somebody has another question, I said, let's go ahead and shut down conversation. And then we'll reach out to everybody separately and find out if it makes sense to have a one-on-one later on. And any one of the three of us can be brought in for that conversation if it's appropriate. So any final thoughts, brilliant ideas, or big tips on Sunday's football games that we should offer to everybody on the call before we say goodbye?
Well, if I had big tips for NFL, I wouldn't be on this call. I would be in Hawaii somewhere,
Or in
taking
Vegas.
surfing lessons because I would have won, a lot of money in these games. No, just a big thank you to Ashley. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate it. And then Brad, pleasure working with you. And thanks everybody for attending. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And then Brad, if you have anything.
Thank you both for the opportunity to participate. Really appreciate it, and it's great to team up with great professionals just focused on customer need. So this is refreshing and really appreciated. Thank you both.
Great.
For the
Cheers.
attendees, good luck out there on your journey because I know it's challenging and we appreciate your hard work. Take care. We'll be in
Awesome.
touch.